Good morning, welcome back to my channel. Today is the day. I'm so excited. We are heading to Petrified Forest National Park, and it is currently 5 a.m. Because the drive to get there is about 3 to 3.5 hours from Phoenix. Unlike other national parks, this park actually has pretty strict hours of what time you can actually be on the park road. And so they open at 8 and they close at 5. And I am trying to do literally like everything that you can do in this park in one day. That's why we got to get there at like exactly 8 o'clock when they open. Everything that there is to see, I'm going to show you today. I'm so excited. Hi again, I am at the national park. I just got here, it's about 8:45. The cool thing about this national park, and the reason why I think that I can literally see almost everything all in one day, is that there's one main road and then there's a bunch of little like viewpoints and hikes that you do right off of that road, and all of those hikes are very short. The park is split into the north side and the south side, with the interstate I think being the dividing factor. I've heard that the south side is where the petrified wood is primarily, and you can start on either the north or the south side because there's visitor centers on both sides. There is such a visible difference between where we are here in Arizona and where we've been in the last two videos. So if you haven't seen my last two videos, definitely be sure to check them out. But in them, we were visiting the Sonoran Desert, where we were at the Oregon Pipe Cactus National Monument and also the Saguaro National Park. And that is just an entirely different ecosystem than where we are right now. A lot of the vegetation is very different. There's not a single cactus out here, which is pretty funny. And also the temperature is extremely different, which you could probably tell by what I'm wearing today. It is a lot colder than Phoenix and the Sonoran Desert. And as I was driving up here, it was literally 26 degrees. We are at Tippany Point right now, and as you can see, it's a bunch of mounds that are made of sediment that are different colors. So it's primarily reds and browns and purples, but I think you can see the different colors more vividly depending on the time of day that you are here. But we are currently in the overall painted desert, which is a desert full of these mounds. And they're sediment from a couple 100 million years ago, so over time they've picked up different colors. It was really windy here, but now we are at the second stop, which is Tawa Point. This gives you another view of the mounds, and it also has a super short trail that connects to the next point, which is the Painted Desert Inn. Okay, we are at point number 3, which is the Painted Desert Inn, which is this building right behind me. I was reading about this, and I believe that it is an old inn that's no longer in service, but it's been converted into a museum. And so it's just kind of cool to see how they've preserved the history and what the inn used to look like for visitors in the past. So unfortunately, the museum is closed, but you can kind of see inside just a little bit. I saw like a kitchen. But behind the museum are some more trails that you can do. I'm not going to be doing any of those today, but just for fun, I'm like walking down a little bit into the mounds area just to see what it's like to be actually down there and to see how big they are compared to me. I'm walking among the mounds of sediment. I'm like literally right next to it so I can touch it and kind of see what it feels like. It just feels like really hard rock. but also a little like spongy and like a little fragile, which is kind of interesting. But the reason that I'm not doing one of these longer hikes down here is just because there's not really that special petrified wood down here, and that's the main draw to this park. I do want to do one of the off the road hikes, but I want to do that in a different part of the park that has more petrified wood. I am now at point number 7 or 8. This is either Whipple or Lacey Point. To be honest with you, points 4 through 8 are literally just lookouts of like the same kind of area. I wouldn't recommend that you do all of them because by this point you've probably seen like as much as you need to see of these mounds and sediments. But I said that I was doing everything that I possibly could in this one day here to like have the most extreme experience. So that's why I'm stopping at all of them. I believe we have one more stop to do on the north side, and that should be the Route 66 point. You can see those old telephone poles behind me. So those used to run parallel to the road, Route 66, which cut through this park back in the early 1900s. And with that, we are officially done with the north side of the park. It is 10:44. So I spent about 2 hours on the north side of the park. Definitely would not recommend spending this much time on this side of the park unless you're doing one of those off the path hikes or off the beaten path or whatever hikes that we saw that actually take you into the mounds. We are going to head onto the overpass, which goes over the interstate now, and then that will take us to the south side of the park where all of the action is, and hopefully where the wow factor is of the actual petrified wood, which is the reason that we are here. The first stop that we are at on the south side of the park is Puerco Pueblo. And so far, this is a pretty interesting stop. There's a nice hut here that has more information about the people and the culture of the times. This is the first place that we've seen petroglyphs in the park. And also at the Puerco Pueblo stop, you can see the remains of where people used to live. Okay, second stop on the south side of the park is Newspaper Rock. And I think this is just going to be a quick little lookout spot to see a rock that has a ton of petroglyphs on it. So our third stop on the south side of the park is at the teepees, which are these mounds right behind me. So these are really famous for this park because they're so colorful and really beautiful to look at. The different layers of color actually signal different time periods and different historical events that happened. So for example, the white ash layers record volcanic eruptions that took place in the area. The blue and red and brown layers have to do with when there was a river around here and the floodplain and kind of the sediment that was deposited as a result of the river. So we are now at the Blue Mesa region, which is also called the Badlands region. I'm not exactly sure what Badlands are. I think it's these mounds. And these are different from the ones that we were walking up next to before because number one, they look fairly bigger, but also of course the color is more blue instead of the reddish brownish that we saw before. I just confirmed my new understanding that these mounds, as I've been calling them, are actually called Badlands. And so they are rock structures with an interesting texture because infrequent but torrential rains have run through them and kind of made crevices and washed away a lot of sediment, leaving an interesting texture behind. I had a pick-me-up snack and then I went to the Agate Bridge, and it was my least favorite stop of the day. It was just a log that was, I guess, a bridge, but I didn't even see the petrification. This was a super quick stop. And now I am at Jasper Forest. It's like another viewpoint where you're looking out into a little pit of petrified wood logs. So I went to the viewpoint, but I'm also doing my first off the beaten path hike, which is 2.5 miles, and it takes you actually, I think, down into the pit so that instead of looking from above, you're actually like walking through the logs. So let's talk about what petrified wood actually is and why it's so special that a national park would be named after it. So 200 million years ago, the trees that used to be in this area fell over and kind of sunk into the ground sediment. And while they were buried, groundwater full of silica seeped into the wood and basically turned it into quartz. And the petrified wood in this park is very highly concentrated compared to in other areas, and it's really stunning and shows so many different colors that are the result of different mineral impurities within the quartz. This piece is so gorgeous. There's so many colors. Blue, purple, yellow, red. And it's so cool because it's like the stone is on the inside and then on the outside is still wood, or at least like that's what it looks like. So this is a perfect example of a log that's still in its log shape and it still looks like wood on the outside, but then when you see the inside of it, it's stone and it looks like a totally different material. You definitely are not allowed to take any pieces of wood out of the park, like to take them as souvenirs, and I'm not going to, but I am just surprised at how tempting it is. They're like the most beautiful things, and they're just sitting on the ground, just gleaming and sparkling in the sun, and I totally see how someone could want to take a piece home. I left Jasper's Forest, I think is what it was called, and I'm just now getting to the Crystal Forest, which is, I think, a pretty similar vibe where you're walking among the logs of petrified wood that are on the ground. As you can see, the logs on this trail are much bigger than the logs on the Jasper Trail. So it's cool to see like full trees almost. It is 2:30 and we are on to our final 2 sites of the day and of the entire park. So I'm very excited. I'm very exhausted, but we just got to Giant Logs Trail. And I'm assuming it has this name because these logs are going to be the biggest ones that we've seen throughout the whole day. Okay, the final site of the day is Long Logs. It's a 2-mile trail, and at the end of the trail is a house. I think the park ranger said it was a 12th century reconstructed house made entirely out of petrified wood. So it should be pretty cool to see. I'm just wrapping up the Long Logs trail. And honestly, it was really nice. I would recommend doing this one over the Giant Logs if you don't want to do both or you don't have the time. Also on the Long Logs trail are more Badlands that are literally right next to you. So that's another perk of doing this trail, and another, I think, reason why it's a little bit more interesting than the Giant Logs trail. So my last stop is Agate House. This is made entirely of petrified wood and mud, which, I mean, it's just so beautiful. I am officially done. It is 4 o'clock and I have done every single vista, trail, everything that there is on the park map that's listed as like an official trail or something to do. This park is really cool. Petrified wood is so cool, and I definitely would encourage you to come to this park and check it out. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please leave a comment if you've ever been to this park or if you plan to come here in the future. And as always, please subscribe to my channel. It lets me know that you are enjoying my content and it encourages me to keep making more. So thanks again. I will see you in my next video. Bye.